Okay, so well, my microphone, it's new. It died on me. I hope this isn't very bad as far as the microphone, and the sound's not too bad for everybody. But why does the narcissist have a creepy ass sixth sense? Okay, let's roll. So, the narcissist, the baby, every baby's born. A narcissist experiences a overload of trauma. Okay, so just a more trauma than your average little baby would experience. Um, if the baby is in a home with just one parent, that's kind of when you get the malignant. You'll get a malignant narcissist in that situation. So not another parent around to kind of balance out that trauma, that narcissistic abuse, just abuse. That's where you see kind of the malignance being formed, or the more trauma, the more malignant. So an overload of trauma. Not only is it too much for the nervous system, it's too much for the soul. Okay? Too much for the soul. So what you have there is soul loss. So in all cultures you have soul retrieval. So in all cultures, ancient cultures, you have shamanic cultures did soul retrieval. Every pretty much culture that's back to Atlantis did soul retrieval, where the culture would band together and figure out this person's a little bit out to lunch and just do a shamanic ceremony to bring the fragmented parts of the soul back to the person, back to the body. A lot of times the soul doesn't really want to, come back, but so that's soul retrieval. So this is kind of where it gets a little bit on the bad side, but let me try and fix this. Obviously have some fixes that I need to do. So you have the soul retrieval. So what this does is it leaves a void. It leaves a void in the baby. So that's why, a lot of people say, the false self, that's all true. But it's also, you also know that narcissists feel a huge void. And that void is because their soul checked out. Yep, that's what that is. So, and when that happens, what you get is right down here. You get fallen spirits and beings on the other side of the veil who, I don't want to get too close, who, anytime you have a void, that's perfect conduit for other beings to come in and use that person as a way to extract fuel from other sources of supply or fuel. So the narcissist doesn't even know that this is what's happening. That's why, they have days of memory loss. They've got, fragmented mind time. They've this void that they feel. They're bombarded with these thoughts that they don't know where they come from. The narcissist, the malignant narcissist, is some of the thoughts that they think, some of the crimes that they do are intense, because the beings from the other side of the veil, the energy that they are going after big prize energy gains. They're hunting big is what they're doing. So we're in a spiritual war, And the fallen beings and fallen spirits, sorry about this video, it's like one of my first ones, but the fallen spirits and beings on the other side of the veil, energy vampires, use narcissists as a conduit. They use narcissists as conduit. That's what they do. And they do this to target especially people with high vibrations, high energy vibrations. That's what they do. So you'll see this on a larger scale, them trying to do things, narcissists that are at the top, creating wars. Anytime there's a war, there's going to be mass energy that's going to be extracted. It's like electricity. So that's why the narcissist has a sixth sense. Because if you're their energy, if you're their food, if you're their fuel on the other side of the veil, they know what's happening. They know what's in your mind. They know they're more aware of what you're doing. The narcissist doesn't know what's happening. They're clueless. They barely remembered what they ate yesterday for lunch. But these beings on the other side of the veil they know what's happening. So that's why they're more telepathic. That's why they get a download and they know to call you and keep you from your ascension, to keep you from awakening, so that you aren't going to be able to get out of their grasp for any length of time. That's what's going to happen. And so it would be nice to be able to do, soul retrieval on the narcissist. But we are living in a society that's really not built for that. Because narcissists, for one thing, they're being bombarded by thoughts that's really just not going to happen. Probably just not going to happen. And, the culture is just not set up for that kind of thing. So, yeah, if you can get your narcissist to go through with soul retrieval, good luck. Good luck. But it's probably not going to happen. You're dealing with pretty, it's sinister energies, especially if you're dealing with a malignant narcissist. You're definitely dealing with energies that are, it's probably a whole nother video on that one, but they that's my cat, there's energy, any energy expel that they can get, whether it be, age isn't, they're non-discriminatory in whatever they're gonna get. The more potent, the better, because they can't produce their own energy. They're fallen beings and fallen spirits, fallen from love. They can't produce their own energy on the other side of the veil. And so that's the war that we're in right now. So, yep. If anybody understands this kind of soul retrieval and why this happens with trauma and why we're in an epidemic of narcissism right now and why it's just flooded all throughout the country, and our top leaders are narcissists. Those are the people being controlled by some of just the darkest beings on the other side of the veil to keep us low right now. It's a tragedy. So that's why we've got to bring some of this stuff to awareness.